The year was finally equal. They weren't only equal before God and the law, they were equal every which way. Nobody was smarter than anybody else, nobody was better looking than anybody, nobody was stronger or quicker than anybody. All this equality was due to the 211th, 212th, and 213th Amendments to the Constitution, and to the unceasing vigilance of agents of the United States Handicapper General.
We were watching television. There were tears on Hazel's cheeks, but she forgot it for the moment they were about.
A buzzer sounded in George's head. His thoughts fled in panic like bandits from a burglar.
That was a real pretty dance, that dance that they just did.
Huh?
That dance, it was nice.
Yep.
He tried to think a little about the ballerinas. They weren't really very good, no better than anybody else would have been anyway.
Sounded like somebody hitting a milk bottle with a ball pin hammer.
I think it would be real interesting, hearing all the different sounds, all the things they think of. Only if I was the handicapper general, you know what I would do?
Hazel, as a matter of fact, bore a strong resemblance to the handicapper general, a woman named Diana Moon Glampers.
If I was Diana Moon Glampers, I'd have chimes on Sunday, just chimes, kind of in honor of religion.
I could think if it was just chime.
Well, maybe make them real loud. I think I'd make a good handicapper general.
Good as anybody else.
Who knows better than what normal is?
Right.
He began to think glimmeringly about his abnormal son, who was now in jail, about Harrison, but a 21-gun salute in his head stopped that. That George was white and trembling, and tears still in the rims of his red eyes. 2 of the 8 ballerinas had collapsed to the studio floor and were holding their temples.
All of a sudden you look so tired. Why don't you stretch out on the sofa so you can rest your handicap bags on the pillows, honey bunch?
She was referring to the 47 pounds of birdshot in a canvas bag, which was padlocked around George's neck.
Go on and rest the bag for a little while. I don't care if you're not equal to me for a while.
I don't mind it. I don't notice it anymore. It's just a part of me.
You've been so tired lately, kind of wore out. If there was just some way we could make a little hole in the bottom of the bag and just take out a few of the lead balls, just a few.
2 years in prison and $2,000 fine for every ball I took out. I don't call that a bargain.
If you could just take a few out when you came home from work. I mean, you don't compete with anybody around here. You just sit around.
If I tried to get away with it, then other people get away with it. And pretty soon we'd be right back to the dark ages again, with everybody competing against everybody else. You wouldn't like that, would you?
I hate it.
There you are. The minute people start cheating on laws, what do you think happens to society?
If Hazel hadn't been able to come up with an answer to this question, George couldn't have supplied one. A siren was going off in his head.
Or then it'd fall all apart.
What would?
Society. Wasn't that what you just said?
Who knows?
The television program was suddenly interrupted for a news bulletin. It wasn't clear at first as to what the bulletin was about, since the announcer, like all announcers, had a serious speech impediment. For about half a minute, and in a state of high excitement, the announcer tried to say, "Ladies and gentlemen." He finally gave up, handed the bulletin to a ballerina to read.
That's all right. He tried. That's the big thing. He tried to do the best he could do with what God gave him. He should get a nice raise for trying so hard.
Ladies and gentlemen, she must have been extraordinarily beautiful because the mask she wore was hideous, and it was easy to see that she was the strongest and most graceful of all the dancers, for her handicap bags were as big as those worn by 200-pound men. And she had to apologize at once for her voice, which was a very unfair voice for a woman to use. Her voice was a warm, luminous, timeless melody. Harrison Bergeron, age 14, has just escaped from jail, where he was held on suspicion of plotting to overthrow the government. He is a genius and an athlete, is under handicap, and should be regarded as extremely dangerous. If you see this boy, do not, I repeat, do not try to reason with him. A police photograph of Harrison Bergeron was flashed on the screen. Upside down, then sideways, upside down again, then right side up. The picture showed the full length of Harrison against the background, calibrated in feet and inches. He was exactly 7 feet tall. The rest of Harrison's appearance was Halloween and hardware. Nobody had ever worn heavier candy caps. He had outgrown hindrances faster than the HG men could think him up. Instead of a little ear radio for a mental handicap, he wore a tremendous pair of earphones and spectacles with thick, wavy lenses. The spectacles were intended not only to make him half blind, but to give him wanking headaches besides. Scrap metal was hung all over him, extraordinarily. There was a certain symmetry, a military neatness to the handicaps issued to strong people, but Harrison looked like a walking junkyard. In the race of life, Harrison carried 300 pounds. And to offset his good looks, the HG men required that he wear at all times.
I am the Emperor. I shall now select my Empress.
I got my driver's license. That's scary.
A red rubber ball for a nose, keep his eyebrows shaved off, and cover his even white teeth with black caps at snaggletooth random. If you see this boy, do not, I repeat, do not try to reason with him. Screams and barking cries of consternation came from the television set. The photograph of Harrison Bergeron on the screen jumped again and again, as though dancing to the tune of an earthquake.
I am the Emperor. I shall now select my Empress.